Hey there, I'm Chappie, and this is Sketching Out Lorcana. When you hear certain words, they register within your brain with a certain association. I've mentioned it briefly before, but it comes into play today with what we're talking about. Because while this is an artistic principle, its most notable use is with music. Probably an excellent merger of the two is, you guessed it, a Disney example. And we're going to go with an OG example this time, Walt Disney's Dumbo. Dumbo and Timothy sip a little too much from some alcohol they procure and start to hallucinate these pink musical elephants that dance around and cause some havoc. Now, not only do these musical pachyderms have a chaotic flow to their song, but they also have a chaotic look to them. And to enhance the feeling of a trance, they are set both musically and artistically within a rhythm. The repetition in this scene is to enhance the trippiness, and it works. So today, we're going to talk about how there's rhythm in the art of Disney Lorcana. And with the Azurite Sea coming to our local game stores soon, this feels like the perfect time to explore how we can see the rhythm of the Azurite waves in this chapter of Sketching Out Lorcana. So, let's start off like we always do. What is rhythm? Just as I said there was an association with words at the beginning, my immediate word association with rhythm specifically points to beats in a song. The beat of two stomps and a clap, probably one of the most notable and influential beats of all time. I can stomp twice and clap a few times in succession, and then you'll probably join in by singing, "Buddy, you're an art boy, big boy, think you're gonna draw some Disney Lorcana art someday?" And you're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna bawl freaking tears if you say that to me. I've told y'all before, I will cry, and I'm not afraid to cry. It's crazy that y'all want to make me cry. But aside from that, you'll immediately know if I do that a few times and follow a certain tempo that I'm performing the beat of "We Will Rock You" by Queen. Rhythm speaks to strong patterns of elements within both visual and auditory arts. Rhythm creates a flow that just seems to speak to our brain just right and makes the happy and satisfied gears click into place. And just like we can hear rhythm in a song, we can also pick up rhythm within an art piece. Just like we've talked about before in Sketching Out Lorcana, these principles and elements can weave and connect with each other in flawless and seamless ways. It's the addition of it all that creates the art pieces we know and love. With that in mind, it probably makes a bit more sense as to why I went from patterns in chapter 11 to rhythm in chapter 12. Rhythm in art is defined by the flow set by patterns and various elements in art. This can be lines, shapes, colors, any sort of element repeated and creating that satisfying flow we talked about before. Speaking of flow, the Azurite Sea is calling to me, telling me to talk about it and celebrate the upcoming release of the new set. I want to make some waves with this chapter and cover solely Azurite Sea cards as examples. I know I'll be kind of disregarding my dissecting of the thumbnail choices. I do that a lot. I don't know. I wanted it to be thematic. I wanted to make it to make sense, right, with the thumbnail. The Shere-Khan choice was just inspiration for my childhood. I had a Jungle Book DDR clone game on the PlayStation, and I've always associated the word rhythm with the Jungle Book because of that. Just a little chappy lore right there. Let's cut the lore chit chat and just jump into this with our first card example, Heffalumps and Woozles, an Emerald Song card that's sort of reminiscent of my Disney example earlier. I find it's fitting to go over a song card's art first, since I have that word association of rhythm with music. So Heffalumps and Woozles is the perfect starting point. Now, you got this excellent use of color and so much dynamic motion within the scene, but I think there's three notable points that set the rhythm of the piece. The first is the overwhelming wave of honey gold that encompasses most of the card. That embrace of the color and its touch in every bit of the art is perfectly setting a flow by itself. There's also these orb-like bubbles that seem to house mischievous characters. To go with these bubbles, you also see bubbles of honey kind of going throughout every part of the piece. Last but not least, There's the vague obsession with honey pots in the art. There's honey flowing out of 2 pots, there's a heffalump holding a pot, there's another critter crawling out of a pot, and then you also have these living pots back here with their own faces. All of these connect and create their own individual patterns in the piece. It's the culmination of these patterns coming together and creating cohesive flow of said patterns that really demonstrates an awesome rhythm within this art. Okay, okay. I was I was going to wait until later on in the video to talk about this, but I was looking through my cards and I saw the art again, and it's just amazing art. It's probably my favorite art in this set. I'm going to gush about it. Let's talk about this epic depiction of my favorite character, my son, my boy, Simba. Pride Protector is now my absolute favorite piece by Kendall Hale. This majestic floodboard Simba is glowing with an amber aura of protection that happens to create its own pattern across his fur. This pattern of glowing crosses and sharp angles goes across his entire body, from the crown of his brow to the tip of his tail. Along with the pattern of glowing sigils on Simba's body, there's also the gushes of wave around him. And each wave, all of the foam is splayed and shooting off to the upper right, bringing the attention back to Simba. This gives the same feeling for each wave, aside from that one on the right and the back, which again curves to point at Simba yet again. Going back to his body, though the glowing patterns don't travel into his mane, Simba's mane has braided crossing patterns in them. These patterns are particularly special because they hone in on Amber's shape language specifically. Yet again, just like with the song card earlier, these elements all coexist in a delicate balance to set a rhythm within this wonderful art. Simba Pride Protector is such an awesome first legendary for my favorite character, and I can't wait to pick up or try to pull for this amazing card. Let's venture on over to Amethyst and take a look at the March Hare, Absurd Host. Honestly, I see some of these sets, and when we get a first card for a character like this so far in, it really astounds me. Like, I would have put money on the March Hare appearing earlier than Set 6 of the game, but I know they got to represent multiple franchises, and I'm sure he was a casualty from the decisions pertaining to that. A pretty consistent thread you'll see in Amethyst are these crescent tendrils of magic that slip out and kind of go through the different cards. It gives them that magical flair that you happen to connect in Amethyst especially. This wisp happens to help tie the rhythm of everything together as it connects to the hare's hammer right out of frame. The tendrils connect not only to the table, but they connect to the broken tableware for the Merry on Birthday celebration that's kicking off here. These two elements coalesce together to create a chaotic yet harmonious rhythm that almost lets you hear the mallet hitting the table beneath our subject. Now, I wanted to highlight a set of cards that were revealed for Azurite Sea because they shared elements that brought a continued sense of rhythm between the cards, and I thought it was noteworthy how well it was pulled off, because with these 3 cards, there's 3 artists credited, and yet the rhythm is consistent. Let's cover the first art since it's also the name of the subject. I want to discuss in all 3 of these art pieces how Pixie Dust, a new Amethyst item coming with the set, carries a rhythm through the cards. Just as the name suggests, we see the magical swirls and sparkles of Pixie Dust trailing from the glowing silhouette of Tinkerbell across the Jolly Roger. This is ensuing all sorts of chaos as objects start floating about. I think what makes this so appealing is the attention to the swirls. This could have easily been just a single strand of magic with an odd loop off here or there to show some sort of mysticism to the art or whimsy. But it's the multiple strands in the path and the sparkles of differing sizes that really make Pixie Dust stand out. We then can travel over to Emerald to see a continuation. Peter Pan, Neverland Prankster, shows that he might have had a hand in vexing Hook's crew with the implementation of the dust. Yet again, we see the dust surrounding Peter and lighting him. Since we're not as close up this time, we don't get a thread-like appearance of the pixie dust like we did in the original card. It's not the subject anymore. But there's still the jovial hints of glittering magic on the effects. We even see more stuff strewn into the mix. It looks like a treasure chest and Captain Hook's hat got caught up in the mishaps. And then we venture back to Amethyst for an absolutely gorgeous card, and a standout from the set in my opinion. Tinkerbell, Queen of the Azurite Fairies. Yep, that is definitely Tinkerbell. But she sported a new regal outfit that seems to have flower petals sprouting up from the skirt and collar. Another new flowery addition is what appears to be some sort of scepter. And of course, swirling around that scepter is the pixie dust that I can't shut up about. It flows in and about the art, still boasting those wonderful sparkles and seemingly doing all sorts of loops and swirls and brandishes around the queen. One thing I really enjoy about this art is Tinkerbell's glow. While it seems like a golden yellow over most of the art, it's the overlap of the pixie dust around the flower ruffles that change the glow to a golden orange instead. That's such a cool little detail I didn't notice until looking over this piece closely. I wanted to show these three connecting in particular because of how vastly different they are. Even the moods are different. One's just showing pixie dust while Tinkerbell's flying around as a little silhouette. Another is Peter Pan causing mischief for his enemies. Another is Tinkerbell just lounging, just straight up chilling, while magic is all around her. However, the flow feels similar because of the love and effort put into the pixie dust within each piece. They go together and stick together because of that rhythm, and it makes them stick out even more than they did before. Alright, let's end off with a lightning round of different rhythms and some Azurite Sea cards. Y'all ready? Let's knock some of these out. Okay, so Yokai Enigmatic Inventor is interesting because there's two patterns going on at the same time and catching your eye. Not only do we see the sapphire shape language glyphs taking up the card's center, but there's also the mingling of the nanobots around Yokai's form and within the sacred geometry. Also, speaking of catching your eye, I just noticed there's an eye in the background, and the iris and pupil are perfectly outlined by the glyphs. Did anyone else see this? Did anyone else notice this? Please comment if you noticed this. This blew my mind while I was looking at the cards. To stay on theme, we also have Yokai's scientific supervillain. While the feel is vastly different, there's still rhythm to the piece yet again established by the nanobots. They overlap and pulse from the torrent behind Yokai in similar patterns to establish a tempo. And if you look at Yokai's outfit, they even extend from his form to mimic ink, leaving his body and making him look literally floodborn from the interaction with Lorcana's ink. You know I talked about Simba already. Now I gotta go back to Scar, Tempestuous Lion. Scar's anger has grown for far too long as he channels a mystical tempest of water and lightning, a storm embodied and harnessed by a treacherous lion. It's the crescents of waves around Scar's form and the arcs of lightning shooting from the sky and the tips of his claws that make this art really stand out so unbelievably well. Staying in Amethyst, let's give me and the guys from Hobbies and Happiness some PTSD while I talk about Diablo, Obedient Raven. What really sets the rhythm within this card are the colors and shapes within the art. The aquatic colors surrounding Diablo and pointing back to him within the surges, while they're all still mostly contained by his wings in the art. Just in the frame that's so stylistically sound and inspired. I love that decision. Skull Rock, Isolated Fortress really gets to stand out with its violently aesthetical rhythm in this art piece. What's most compelling to me are the spikes of waves that are crashing, not only at the title subject of Skull Rock, but also onto the Jolly Roger that Captain Hook and Smee are rolling away from. These spiked waves also mirror the mountains almost hidden within the backdrop. Such clever little, just good touches. That's art. That's some good art right there. Another location within a set rhythm happens to be a reveal from the lorecast for Azurite Sea. Galactic Council Chamber Courtroom gives a new look at this eerie alien location within the sea. Stitch hovers in a holding cell over an unrelenting vortex, centered perfectly while being surrounded by distinct architecture and even more unruly waves in the distance. This cohesion between the two elements just gives this sort of rhythm that's like the symmetry's playing in as well. It's just nice. It's good. It tickles my brain a good way. And now, to end it off, I'm going to show one of the last remaining cards to be revealed. The White Rose, Jewel of the Garden. I know a teeny tiny bit of French, but thankfully Musha Report got me with that one. I had no clue what it said before I saw that they translated it on Twitter, so thanks, Musha. Look at how I can't talk. Look at how utterly gorgeous this art is. There's the sparkles of dew all around the white rose that give a twinkling effect. There's also the reeds and other foliage in the background repeated to give that setting of a garden some credence. And to top it all off, there's these straight lines that are swishing back and forth in the card's background. I love this detail, and I'm going to go ahead and connect this back to the beginning, because even though they're probably lines just to get across the amethyst shape language, they vaguely look like bars for reading music. So by just looking at her and getting those shapes in the back, we're given a vibe that she's singing. A highlight from the Golden Afternoon song within the original motion picture. And that detail is only relevant with information from both the card and the Alice in Wonderland movie. Because unless you can hear shapes or lines, this is just a piece of art. But it's the techniques put on full blast and utilized with the absolute utmost care and attention and love that makes that beautiful white rose sing without making a single peep, without a single sound. It's why we can feel and see the rhythm of these cards without hearing a single beat of music. It washes through our body just from those glances. Bro, y'all are going to get sick of me saying this. I say it every single dang time I make one of these videos. I love this art. I love this game. I love everything that it accomplishes. I'm so pumped for Azurite Sea. Do you have a favorite card this set? Do you have a favorite piece? Or do you have one that you can see the rhythm in it and it's captivating you and you're like, you just want to show somebody? Please, please, please feel free to shoot it in the comments or tag me on Twitter and be like, hey Chappie, this is my favorite art from Azurite Sea. Can you run your freaking mouth and tell me what you love about it? Because I can guarantee you without a doubt that I will probably run my mouth about it at some point. At some point in time, I'm going to be yapping about it. And, I will. I will. I'll be yapping. If there's one thing you can count on, it's going to be me yapping. But that's so stupid. You guys don't forget to keep on questing. Stay hydrated. And I'll see y'all real soon.